This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. After listening to the young man's words, when Shu opened his eyes again and muttered, "Humph, it seems like it's a big deal. I'll take a nap first and report to the higher-ups later." He closed his eyes again and turned his back to the young man, ignoring him. The young man, Ingluo. At this moment, another intelligence officer ran over and said, "Deputy Secretary, the evil charm sect has sent the latest information." What? When Shu suddenly turned over and sat up with high spirits. His eyes lit up as he said, "What news? Hurry up and tell me." The intelligence officer chuckled and said, "So, the lover of the sect master of the evil charm sect, Hua Yaoiwei, is her brother-in-law. Their relationship is now half public, and not only has that brat toyed with the two sisters, but he has also toyed with some female disciples and elders in the sect. So far, he has touched a total of 17 female disciples and 3 elders. This brat is simply a six-fingered demon. He has turned the entire evil charm sect into his harem. Heaven and earth will not tolerate him, and everyone will kill him." Swish. When Shu suddenly sucked in a mouthful of saliva and fiercely swallowed it down. He slammed the table and stood up, angrily saying, "Everyone has the right to kill the ancient lewd demon." He stood up and paced back and forth impatiently. He suddenly stopped and said with a determined face, "We can't allow this kind of lewd demon to harm the world anymore. We must save those ignorant girls." When Shu suddenly turned around, turned into a ray of light and flew out of the hall. The young man from before suddenly shouted, "Mr. Deputy Secretary, don't forget about the matter of Songyang City's monster race." Did something happen to Songyue in Yang City? The intelligence officer behind him frowned. He revealed a sly smile and chuckled, "Brother, come. I have some more explosive news. Do you know the measurements of the second miss of the Jiang family in Red Moon City? I have first-hand information here." "Really?" The solemnness on the young man's face was swept away, replaced by an expression that said, "We all understand." The two of them ran to the side to discuss and communicate with each other. When Shu turned into a ray of light and crossed the sky above the holy region, falling toward a huge palace in the center. "So it's when Shu, go in." There were 2 guards standing in front of the palace. Both of them had their hands on their swords and their faces were cold. The 2 of them kept their eyes closed, constantly inhaling and exhaling the surrounding spiritual qi. It was not until when Shu landed that the person on the left opened his eyes and closed them again after a brief glance. "Thank you for your hard work." When Shu cupped his fists, he immediately turned into a beam of light and flew into the palace. It was very vast and was surrounded by clouds and winding corridors. When Shu flew towards the north for a while and landed in front of a big hall. He shouted, "When Shu from the intelligence department requests an audience with Lord Gongyang. Come in." A moment later, an old man's voice came from inside, neither warm nor angry. When Shu nodded slightly and stepped in. A stream of water flashed in front of the hall. In the hall that could accommodate tens of thousands of people, there were only a few people standing. An old man in sackcloth was sitting at the head of the table, listening to the reports of the people below. When Shu stepped forward and stood quietly to the side, listening to the report of a man in brocade clothes. The man's expression was calm as he told them about his recent closed-door cultivation. Gong Yang Xingqi, who was sitting at the head of the table, listened carefully and kept nodding his head. He seemed to be very concerned about the man's cultivation. After listening for a while, when Shu lost interest. This man was talking about sorcery and seemed to have made a big breakthrough. When the man finished his story, the few people around him smiled and congratulated him. When Shu also smiled hypocritically, "Congratulations to Lord Yuan for the great progress you've made in your seclusion. As long as you welcome back the soul body of the outer realm, you'll probably be able to directly break through to the 10th level of the Warlock God, right?" The man was Yuan Gaohan, the spirit secretary who had just come out of seclusion. He smiled and said, "You flatter me, Lord Wen. I wonder what level the Starlight Soul has reached." If it can break through to the 9th level, I'm confident that I can reach the peak of the art of sorcery. As for the 10th level, that's only a legendary realm. Who has ever seen it? When Shu laughed. Since there's a legend, it must have existed. Otherwise, where did all the transcendent grade profound level weapons recorded in the ancient books come from? Gao Han, Gong Yang Jingqi said, if you can reach the peak of the 9th rank at this age, your future achievements can even surpass Lord Tian Zhaozi. It's not impossible for you to become a sorcerer god. I'll send people to open a passage to the outer space and bring back your starlight soul body. This matter is very important, so I'll leave it to you, Dark Agent. There must be no mistakes. Thank you, Lord Gongyang. Yuan Gaohan cupped his fists and said. Gongyang Jingqi nodded slightly, his gaze fell on Wen Shu. Wen Shu, do you have any information from your side? Wen Shu's body trembled. Gongyang Jingqi's gaze made him nervous. He quickly said, Lord Gongyang, there are demons in the Wicked Charm sect. I suggest that we send law enforcers to investigate. You can talk to Xiao Haiyu about this. Is there anything else? Gongyang Jingqi frowned. No, Wen Shu quickly shook his head. He raised his head and looked at a man beside him. He smiled and said, it just so happens that Lord Xiao is here as well, it saves me the trouble of running around. Xiao Haiyu nodded and said, I'll send law enforcers later. By the way, there are 2 law enforcers who have gone missing. One is in the eastern region and the other is in Songyue City. Is there any news from Lord Wen? Oh no. I forgot. Wen Shu smacked his head and exclaimed. He hurriedly explained what he had just received from Lu Ji. Gongyang Jingqi's expression changed slightly, and he said angrily, you actually forgot such an important matter? Wen Shu laughed a few times in embarrassment and said, I just thought of it at the last minute. Xiao Haiyu's face turned slightly ugly, and she said seriously, almost half of the experts in the Merchant Union have gathered in Songyue City. Their strength is comparable to some major sects, but they were trapped by several demons and lost all contact. Even the law enforcement officers I sent were killed. The situation seems to be very serious. How could there be such a coincidence? The man beside Yuan Gaohan had a slightly pale face. He was Mo Huayuan, and he could not help but worry for Mo Xiaochuan and the others. The starry and lunar illusionary realm has always been under surveillance, Gongyang Jingqi said solemnly. I don't know where these demons came from, but they're actually so capable. I'm afraid that the 4 Extremes sect has contributed a lot in this matter. Send 2 groups of people to Songyue City and the 4 Extremes sect's headquarters. If the 4 Extremes sect has any intention of disobeying, capture Tang Cheng and bring him back to the Holy Region first. Xiao Haiyu frowned slightly and said, without evidence of him killing a law enforcer, I'm afraid it's not appropriate to arrest him rashly, for fear of causing dissatisfaction within the Merchant Union. Furthermore, whether it's to the 4 Extremes sect's headquarters or Songyue City, we must send experts over. I'm afraid that ordinary martial supreme powerhouses won't be of any use. Gongyang Jingqi pondered for a while and said, it's best if you go to the headquarters of the 4 Extremes sect in person and question Tang Qing directly as the deputy director of the Law Enforcement Division of the Holy Region. If there's anything wrong with him, it's reasonable for you to arrest him. Even if there's a misunderstanding, you can explain it to the Merchant Union in the future. As for Songyang City's Kongtong, the situation there is unclear, and Nanfengxian is in closed-door cultivation, so there is indeed no one to send. Everyone was silent for a while, then Yuan Gaohan suddenly said, Lord Gongyang, I do have someone I can recommend. Moreover, his strength is just right for this matter. Oh? Who are you? Gongyang Jingqi asked, and everyone was curious. This man lives in the one color in the sky, 30,000 miles away from the Holy Region, Yuan Gaohan said with a smile. Hearing this, everyone's pupils constricted, and they immediately understood who it was. Gongyang Jingqi's expression turned serious. This person is indeed very suitable. However, he's not from the Holy Region after all. He might not listen to my orders. It's not easy to send him. The iron token of the Holy Region is respected by the world, said Yuan Gaohan with a smile. He can't just brush us off. Besides, we're not sending him, we're just inviting him. I think he'll be able to get Lord Xiao Haiyu to invite him personally. Xiao Haiyu said, I'll go. Although there's no teleportation formation near the everlasting sky, the teleportation formation in Songyuyang City was also destroyed. We can only gather experts to open the passage by force. It'll cost us a lot, but it doesn't matter. Gongyang Zhang said curiously, then that's it for now. If Duanmu Yoyu does not accept the invitation, then we'll make a decision. Let's leave it at that. Wen Shu, you must report back to me as soon as possible, you can't mess up the important matters. We will follow your orders, my lord. Everyone bowed and left. After leaving the hall, Xiao Haiyu suddenly smiled bitterly, Lord Yuan, you've really recommended a good person to me. This is simply a huge problem. Yuan Gaohan laughed and said, it's not a difficult problem. With his ability, I'm afraid he already knows that you're going. If he avoids you, it naturally shows that he is unwilling to be invited. But with my understanding of him, he will definitely go. I hope so. Xiao Haiyu smiled bitterly. Everyone flew away, and Mo Huayuan followed Yuan Gaohan to the Spirit Bureau. On the way, he couldn't help but ask, Master, in your opinion, the situation in Songyuyang City is so bad? You actually want to invite Sir Young Master you? The worry on his face grew. You're worried about your big brother? Yuan Gaohan laughed. Relax, Songyuyang City is filled with experts, and your big brother is not someone in the limelight. I recommended Duanmu Yu because I am afraid that the worst situation will happen, but the possibility is not big. Mo Huayuan remained silent, but there was a sense of uneasiness in his heart that could not be erased. He had an ominous feeling. Don't think about it anymore, Yuan Gaohan said with a smile. Tell me about what you've been doing over the years, as well as the situation about Li Yunxiao. I'm very interested in this man. The two of them instantly turned into a ray of light and flew toward the palace in the distance. Inside the Divine Realm tablet, in Mount Inch, Yunshang circulated the Nine Yang manual and soon entered a state of selflessness. A large number of golden crystal sources of south fire scattered around her and kept pouring into her body. The phenomenon of the Nine Yang flashed on her body, illuminating the entire cave with a fiery red light. Under the surging force, Yunxiao's weak body gradually glowed with more and more white and golden light. Yunxiao's divine sense began to slowly sink into the warm power, being nourished and nourished. His body was filled with an indescribable comfort and contentment, as if he was bathing in the sun in the middle of winter, and he felt so comfortable that he was about to fall asleep. After an unknown amount of time, his divine sense gradually woke up from its drowsy state. His skin appeared to be a faint golden color as it continuously absorbed the energy from the southern fire golden crystal essence. At the same time, rays of bright moon divine light were emitted from his body, intertwining with the Nine Yang Qi in the air. The two of them were calm and peaceful, with a smile on their faces. They were in a wonderful state, guarding the void with their mind, allowing the power of their god bodies to spread and blend with each other. They were feeling that kind of ethereal state where they had no self or anything else. The consumption rate of the southern fire golden crystal source around them also became extremely fast. Suddenly, Yunxiao smelled a faint fragrance. It was a faint fragrance that made him tremble and open his eyes. He saw Luo Yunshang leaning in front of him with her eyes closed. She was still meditating in the void of will defense, and she had leaned over instinctively. Yunxiao could feel the thick breath, and a nameless fire was burning under his dantian. Yunxiao's hand could not help stroking her soft hair, and then it slid down. Yunshang's body trembled violently as she woke up from the selfless realm. Her eyes were filled with confusion and shock, and her whole body could not help but tremble. She felt that Yunxiao had pinched her very hard, and she could not help but murmur in pain. The moment she made a sound, a masculine aura came down from her face. Her mind went blank. Yunshang and Yunxiao had been cultivating for nearly 3 days, and the people outside were getting a little anxious. Let me go. Wu, what are you doing? They tied Lilu to a large rock, planning to send him in immediately if anything went wrong. Young Emperor Hulian paced back and forth in frustration. This Miss Yunshang is really... Shouldn't she at least send a message? Let everyone be at ease. Don't keep wandering around in front of me, Mo Xiaochuan said angrily. You're making me confused. Miss Luo has her own plans, so you don't have to worry about her. Yuan Gaohan, who had been silently cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and exclaimed, "What's going on?" The aura inside had been very stable. Apart from Miss Luo's 9 young true qi, the other force should have come from Yunxiao. I originally thought that everything would be fine, but now that the two of them are in complete chaos, I don't know if anything happened. Mo Xiaochuan was shocked and quickly asked, "Master Yuan, what's good about this? Are we going to do something?" Yuan Gohan's expression became somewhat dignified as he pondered, "I'm just afraid that they'll fail in their cultivation and go into qi deviation, but it doesn't seem right to go in and investigate. After all, the matter of the divine body's radiance is most afraid of being disturbed. If it was originally fine, but we startled it, then it's really over. Inappropriate? What's wrong with that? At such a critical moment, if you don't go, I'll go." Xiao Huanghalian was the most impatient one and couldn't help but rush into the cave. "No!" Yuan Gaohan shouted. "The Emperor Qi fluctuations on your body are extremely strong, and it's very likely that you'll cause more trouble once you enter. If you want to go, let Miss Ding go. Her cultivation is the weakest, and the probability of causing chaos is the lowest." "I'll go then," Ding Ling said. "I'll try my best to restrain my aura." Her face was solemn as she tried her best to suppress the aura on her body. She slowly walked into the cave. The scorching true qi inside made her sweat all over. She was afraid that her movements would disturb the two of them, so she walked very slowly. Finally, she came into the cave and looked nervously. Yunxiao. 2 screams came out of Ding Ling's mouth. The scene in front of her made her tremble. Yunxiao and Yunshang, half naked, were rubbing and hugging each other tightly, like a burning firewood that could not be stopped. Ding Ling's face immediately turned red and purple like an eggplant. In her embarrassment and anger, she instantly turned into a beam of light and rushed out. She did not wait for Mo Xiaochuan and the others to question her before she fled far away. Her sudden shock jolted Yunshang out of her daze. Seeing her embarrassing scene and Ding Ling's eyes, she felt a little dizzy. She hurriedly pushed Yunxiao away and covered herself with the clothes on the ground. Then, she also turned into a beam of light and fled. Yunxiao came to his senses at once, and after a brief daze, he smiled wryly. At this moment, the fire of desire in his body was burning to the peak and he felt uncomfortable all over. However, Mo Xiaochuan and the others outside the cave were also alarmed. His face was slightly red as he hurriedly circulated his vital qi to suppress the evil fire under his dantian. Mo Xiaochuan and the others were anxiously waiting for Ding Ling's news when they heard her 2 cries of surprise. They thought that something had happened and hurriedly rushed into the cave. However, they saw Ding Ling turn into a ray of light and rush straight into the cave. Without saying a word, she fled far away, leaving the few of them stunned at the entrance of the cave. "What's with this Ying Luo? Why is Miss Ding's face as pale as an eggplant?" young Emperor Hulian asked with a strange expression. Mo Xiaochuan hesitated for a moment. "I don't care. Let's go in and take a look first. Young Master Yun's comfort is more important." Just as they were about to enter, they saw Luo Yunshang rush out. She also transformed into a beam of light and struck out with her palm, opening a path and fleeing far away. This buy-in. This time, everyone was even more confused. Hulian Xiaohuang was even more surprised. Why does Miss Luo's face look like an eggplant? Are there eggplants inside? Eggplant your sister. An angry curse came from the cave, and Yunxiao's figure gradually came out, but his face was a little strange. "Young Master Yun, you're all right?" The few of them were overjoyed and hurriedly went up to him. Yuan Gaohan stared at him for a while before sighing. The magical effect of the divine body is really amazing. Not only has he recovered completely, but his strength has also increased sharply. He has broken through to the 9 stars martial emperor realm in just 3 days. This plucking technique is amazing. Young Emperor Hao Lian was pleasantly surprised. I've only picked one, and you're already hesitating? Young Master Yun, you must teach me this cultivation technique. If I had learned it earlier, I would have reached the peak of the martial supreme realm. Yunxiao ignored him and walked out with a strange look on his face. He felt dizzy. He did not know how long Ding Ling and Yunshang would have to hide from him. If the three of them met again, it would be an awkward scene. He felt a headache coming on. Although Ding Ling and Yunshang had fled far away, he could sense every blade of grass and tree in the Divine Realm tablet, and he could only feel that they were still flying away. Young Master Yun, what happened to Yingluo just now? Mo Xiaochuan asked. Why are the two of them flying in the same direction? A direction? Yunxiao was dumbfounded. Sure enough, they were going in the same direction, and they were getting closer and closer. He slapped his forehead and quickly cut off his senses and divine will, then said, "It's nothing. I don't know what happened either. They ran away as soon as I woke up. Perhaps they felt a little bored after staying here for a long time and went to relax." Yunxiao walked into the cave as he said, "I've just recovered. I'll be in closed-door cultivation for a few days. Don't disturb me." Yuan Gaohan and the others all looked at each other and revealed a smile that said you know. Fufeng City was one of the 33 famous cities in the eastern region. There were 3 major powers in the city, and House Xiaohou was one of them. The entire house was in a jubilant mood, with an endless stream of people coming and going. The large family was all silent in celebration. Today was the 100th birthday of their patriarch, Xiahou Yuanming, and also the day of his concubines. To cultivators, 100 years old was nothing. Xiahou Yuanming's concubine was only 16 years old, so no one felt that it was inappropriate. The Xiahous were one of the most influential families in the eastern region, so they had a wide network of friends. There was an endless stream of celebratory guests, and the entire family's power was mobilized to receive the guests and maintain order and safety. At this moment, in the most secure place of House Xiahou, in the secret chamber of the treasury, Xiahou Yuanming's face was solemn. There was no joy of a birthday or a concubine. He looked at the jade tablet on a table and muttered to himself, "I hope nothing bad happens. As long as we can get through tonight, everything will be fine." The man behind him had a nonchalant expression on his face. It was his eldest son, Xiahou Cheng. He had a full beard and looked burly. "Father, you're being too careful. Isn't it just a profound level weapon? We can't tell if it's a 9th tier one or not. Even if it's true, with House Xiahou's strength, who would dare to come and steal it?" Xiahou Yuanming looked at him coldly and snorted in anger, "The ignorant are fearless. Do you really think House Xiahou is invincible? If he's not even the boss of Windfall City, who knows where he'll be in the eastern region? If we expand our horizons to the entire continent, he's not even a speck." Xiahou Cheng was at a loss for words. "Father, I know what you're saying. However, those sects that are far stronger than us don't lack this thing at all, and those sects that lack it don't dare to lay a hand on us. In my opinion, we should keep this thing for ourselves. Father, you're already a martial supreme now. If you refine this thing, you'll definitely become the #1 expert in Windfall City. By then, you'll be able to suppress the other 2 forces directly, and it's not impossible for you to even annex them." Just now, a reader added my account, and he said his real name was Li Yi.